From Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News celebrates 75 years.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Mills.
And I'm Emily Flores. We thank you for joining us here. This evening, 3 are in police custody after launching Taylorsville High School into a full lockdown today.
Yeah, the sound of gunfire from the school reportedly in the parking lot after a fight between some teenagers, sparking fear in students and staff this afternoon. Those students are home safe now, police telling us. 3 others believed to be involved could be on the loose still. Parents anxiously waiting outside the school while officers scan the area for them.
You see your kid, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Hug him. He's taller than I am, but I will get into that, no problem.
The investigation ongoing. Police continuing to search for the person who fired off the gun. Luckily, no one was injured.
And we continue to follow legislation as it moves through the state capitol today. Utah senators passed a bill tying together a school voucher program and a salary hike for teachers.
ABC4's Cade Gardner was there for the vote this afternoon. He joins us now live from Utah's Capitol Hill. So, Cade, what will this bill do as it becomes law?
Well, Glenn, Emily, it'll do 2 things. First, it'll give public teachers a raise of $6,000, and it'll give parents access to public funds so they can send their kids to the school of their choice or pay for homeschooling.
Wilson. Aye.
The bill passed the Senate in a 20-8 vote. Senator Kurt Cullimore is the floor sponsor.
To get the support that we did out of the House and the Senate is really thrilling.
But not everyone feels that way.
Educators just feel like this is a blow to public education.
Renee Pinkney is a social studies teacher and president of Utah Education Association.
We were asked to compromise our values, and we have a long-standing opposition to vouchers.
Utah teachers will get a $6,000 raise, and families that qualify will get $8,000 to use towards the school of their choice, whether it be private, charter, or homeschool. Pinkney says the two should have never been tied together.
The argument is that they are not taking money out of public education. Ultimately, that $42 million could be invested in public education.
So when we talk accountability, we're talking 2 things, financial accountability and then outcome accountability. I think the financial accountability piece is very robust, and I'm very confident that the money will be used for appropriate educational expenses.
Pinkney argues privately funded education isn't held to the same standards.
The better conversation is what can we do to free up teachers so that they can get back to the craft of teaching and not feel like they're always teaching to these high-stake tests.
Now, with the bill having passed both the House and the Senate, it'll head to the governor's office for him to sign. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Cade Gardner, ABC4 News.
All right, we thank you, Cade. Time now for a first look at the forecast on this Friday Eve.
Yeah, we're approaching the weekend, so what can we expect, Alana?
Well, we've got another storm on the way, but today it's been about the high pressure in control, and we've got some cloud cover that's sneaking into the forecast area. We start with our satellite, which shows how those clouds are on the move. They're coming from the north, our northerly flow, keeping us chilly, and that's also where the storm system will drop in from. But this morning was all about the fog. Look at this time-lapse video. Low cloud cover here. This is Lake Mountain, Utah County, where they are still socked in. You get above it and you see clear skies and sunshine and the tops of our mountains. Goodness, it's pretty to see that. Absolutely love it. But fog won't be as bad as we make it through the rest of tonight because we've got some movement and the cloud cover that's out there. We do have some gunk, inverted conditions, high pressure, bringing in moderate air quality in several locations, including Cache, Weber, Box Elder County, eastern Utah, and Salt Lake. Hopefully this next storm will mix things up and clean up that air. As we look at temperatures, we're freezing in many locations above it in Salt Lake, 49 in St. George, but frigid in Cache Valley, Ogden, and Provo. This next storm already prompting a new winter alert. We've got a winter weather advisory going into effect. I'll break down the details and what to expect when it comes to snow accumulation and timing coming up in my full forecast. Glenn, Emily, over to you.
I want to thank you. In southern Utah, 2 hikers stranded in freezing cold Zion National Park home safe and warm tonight. And we're getting a first-hand look at the rescue. Check it out.
Hold up. I'm going to try to find my way around to you, okay?
All right. 100 feet of cable out, just positive rate up.
Wow, impressive stuff there. Video of rescuers dropping down and hoisting the hikers up over the weekend. They used infrared technology to find them after reports the pair was still missing 24 hours after they started their hike in a remote part of the park on Friday. The Department of Public Safety telling us one hiker was dangerously hypothermic, but is now stable.
Whew, my heart is going from that video.
That is amazing.
All right, elsewhere in southern Utah, new developments in the case of a slain Enoch family.
Yeah, a second search warrant diving into the contents of the Hates phones. The warrant unsealed today, revealing that one of Michael Hates' children reached out to a friend the night before he fired on his family of 7 and then turned the gun on himself. She said she was worried because her father was acting, quote, strange. The friend was one of just a few Enoch community members who say they spoke with family members just the night before.
And in developing news now, a West Jordan man possibly responsible for the deaths of 5 high school students out of Arkansas. We're told the group of 2 current and 3 former Arkansas high school students were driving back from Jackson Hole Bible College on Sunday when 57-year-old Arthur Nelson reportedly swerved into the wrong side of the road, hitting them head on, causing 3 other cars to crash. 2 of those cars burst into flames and several others were injured. Members of the students' church releasing balloons today in their memory.
Feels like my heart is broken, but I do have, peace from the Lord that I will see them again.
Their church plans to cover the cost of the funerals. Meantime, Nelson in a Wyoming court yesterday, he faces 11 charges, including vehicular homicide and driving under the influence.
Now to new information on a deadly private plane crash at Provo Airport earlier this month. The National Transportation Safety Bureau releasing a photo of the aftermath and testimony from witnesses. They told investigators pilot 62-year-old Nathan Ricks and his 3 passengers were hoping to beat the worsening weather. The man who fueled the plane says he saw the aircraft wobble left and right before crashing on its left side into the ground where Ricks was in the pilot's seat. Wreckage was found hundreds of feet away from the crash site. The investigation is ongoing.
And in national news, Utah Congressman Chris Stewart says social media is so harmful for kids and teens that they should be banned from using it.
Yeah, it's a story we broke just last week, and now our D.C. bureau is picking it up today as representatives from across the aisle are chiming in. Alexander Lamone reports from Washington.
Emily, Glenn, Congressman Chris Stewart tells me he hasn't officially introduced his bill to ban social media for kids because he's working on building up support for it behind the scenes first.
Congressman Chris Stewart wants to ban social media for kids under 16.
It's destroyed their sense of self-worth and their confidence and their sense of hope in the future.
Studies show social media leads to an elevated risk of depression and suicide, especially for kids and teens.
Nearly a third of our young people, age 14 to 24, have considered suicide and have discussed how they would commit suicide with a friend.
Stewart's proposal would only apply to new accounts. Social media platforms would be required to verify a new user's age, and they would be legally liable if they don't.
Stewart says parents want their kids off social media, but worry they'll be socially isolated and ostracized if they're the only ones. That's why Stewart wants the ban to be nationwide.
California Democratic Congressman Lou Correa says he's open to the idea.
There's very few checks and balances. So this is an area we need to look at.
But Congressman Ro Khanna, who represents Silicon Valley, says it's not the right approach.
There needs to be regulation, but there are kids who are LGBTQ, who the social media is their only avenue. There are kids who don't have a good relationship with their parents who rely on social media.
Stewart also expects pushback from the tech lobby, but says something has to be done.
The average 13-year-old who's spending 9 hours a day on social media, the average 8-year-old 5 hours a day.
Congressman Stewart also hopes to get the president's support for this bill, and he tells me he's had initial conversations with the White House. Glenn, Emily, back to you.
Thank you, Alexander. Well, in Salt Lake City now, Utah religious leaders, businesses, and pro-choice advocates joined the League of Women Voters on the steps of the Capitol today in support of abortion rights. Now, these groups submitting almost 40 filings in support of the Planned Parenthood lawsuit challenging Utah's abortion trigger law. The League believes this law violates Utah's Constitution, saying public policy should protect the right of privacy and allow people to make their own reproductive choices.
The League also believes that every U.S. resident should have access to basic level of quality health care at an affordable cost, including abortion.
The League of Women Voters urging the Utah Supreme Court to back a district court's decision and continue the injunction on Utah's trigger law during litigation.
Busy week on Utah's Capitol Hill for those for and against Utah's abortion ban. Today's protest follows a memorial organized by Pro-Life Utah, commemorating what they say are the lives of hundreds of aborted babies.
And then the devil showed his face. Planned Parenthood and the Utah ACLU filed a lawsuit. And on June 27th, a temporary injunction was granted that put a hold on our law.
Moves from advocates on both sides of the debate come as a resolution that could potentially overturn the injunction on Utah's trigger law passes the House and now heads to the Senate.
And now to an update on controversial Senate Bill 16 banning gender reassignment surgery for transgender youth and puberty blockers in some cases.
Yeah, today in a 58-14 vote, House lawmakers voting Senate Bill 16 through, but they did make some changes, giving transgender patients the chance to sue medical providers for malpractice if they change their mind about their decision later on, and allowing kids and teens to receive hormonal treatment therapy if they're diagnosed with gender dysphoria.
We need to trust individuals with the power over their own lives. I ask that we not place the heavy hand of government right in the middle of these very private, intensely important decisions.
I believe we have struck a good balance of being firm, being responsible, and being compassionate. I urge your support for this legislation.
The revised version of Senate Bill 16 now heads to the Senate for concurrence.
Still ahead, a packed meeting room as one Utah council gears up top push for the gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon, while protesters showed out in droves.
And I spy a little sunshine on the eastern side of the state. That's a gorgeous shot, but believe it or not, it is freezing there in Moab. Temperatures sitting in the 20s. Oh, goodness, it's cold, but they don't have the cloud cover that we're seeing in northern Utah. That's linked to our next storm. I've got the timing in Utah's most accurate forecast.